In this DIY, we're showing you how to build a simple, attractive pet feeding station. I've taken some pet bowls which actually look like a bit of an eyesore in your home, and we've built a structure around it to actually dress it up and make it look more attractive. Hopefully you can appreciate it as well as your pets too. Let's show you how to do this DIY. So it looks like I have quite a lot of stuff on the table here to do this DIY. It's a simple box structure just to house these pet bowls. You don't necessarily need all this, but I've used all this for this DIY because I love all these tools and they're fun to use. Let's go through everything that I'm going to use. To start off with, I've got my timber. Now I've sent my cutting list to builders and they've cut it all for me. I'm using a standard laminated board. This is not going to be using a lot of timber, so there is going to be quite a bit of offcut left over. You can use that for another DIY. This particular cutting list is matched for the small bowls that I've used from builders. If you are going for something larger, obviously you need to change your sizes. Remember, make use of the guys at builders. They will cut it all to size for you. That way, all that's left to do is the assembly part. We've got some wood glue. I've got a compass, which I'm going to use to mark out these circles for the bowls. I'm going to be making use of some clamps. For the assembly of the frame, I'm making use of the Kreg Tool. Reason being, it's going to create some hidden pocket holes on the inside of the box, and it's going to save me work as I don't need to fill anything on the outside. Alternatively, you can drill and assemble with screws on the outer edge. I'm using some quadrant, which is going to be going around the perimeter, acting as a skirting for the box. To cut that to size, I'll be using my miter box and a hammer and some panel pins to attach it to the frame. And as for the tools, I will be using a cordless drill, a jigsaw and a sander. I'm making use of the jigsaw to cut out that hole, and the sander obviously to clean up the wood once I'm finished, and then I'll be staining it up with some wood stain. Let's clear all this stuff out the way and get started. I'm going to start off with the box section. Now that's this section here, very straightforward. I've got my panel piece on the bottom, working upside down. I've got my pieces on the side and pieces in the center there. So we'll just line that up and double check to make sure everything is cut okay. Right, now my pocket holes are going on the inside, so I can actually mark it now. One on the side, two on the edges, one on the side, two on the edges. Exactly the same for the other side. I also need to put one in the middle, one in the middle, one on the side, two on the edges, two on the edges. Okay, so I've got my rough markings. Those can go aside. Let's drill those pocket holes and then we're going to start assembling that all together. Remember, you must put wood glue in between the mating surfaces. Before I put it into the Kreg jig, I have to set the height of the thickness as well as the depth for the drill. Now, just quickly double checking the timber. I'm sitting around about 18, 19 millimeters. So I'm going to select the 19 millimeter height as well as the 19 millimeter setting on the drill bit. Just line it up, double check. Perfect, we're ready to go. If you are using your K4, it is advisable to make use of the Hoover extraction port. It really does clean that sawdust out of the tool and helps prolong the life of the drill bit. Okay, I'm now going to assemble my box section. Remember, wood glue in between the mating surfaces. What's nice is I can actually use this base section as my square frame. So I'm going to assemble it all on there with the wood glue, and I'll make use of some clamps and clamp it all down, and then I can screw it in position. And the base will ensure that I am keeping everything square and in line. Also, I'm using a coarse thread as it's going into soft pine, opposed to a fine thread which is suitable for hard timbers. I'm using a 32 millimeter Kreg screw which matches up to the thickness. If you're not sure what size to use depending on your material, have a look at the chart. You must use the right size. There's my box frame finished, and all my pocket holes and screws are on the inside, hidden from the outside. Whilst that's drying, I can mark out the center point for my compass so I can draw the circle line, and then I'm going to make use of the jigsaw and cut those circles out. When selecting the diameter to use on your compass or the radius, just double check your bowl and allow approximately 5 millimeters either side for that bowl to move. My holes are drawn out, it's time to cut it out with a jigsaw. Before I start with the jigsaw, I'm just going to drill a hole first of all so I can insert my blade and then work my jigsaw through and around that perimeter. We'll start off, I'm using an 8mm, that should be enough clearance for that saw blade. pop in my jigsaw blade into the hole, and I'm going to work my way through and follow the contour of that line all the way around. My box frame is finished. I'm just going to put some wood filler on some of the joins. I can see some slight misalignment here, so I'm going to put some wood filler, allow that to dry, and then I'm going to sand it down. That's it, the wood filler's on. I've filled in any gaps, fixed any misalignment, allow that to dry, give it a good sand down, and then we're for a way to start the quadrant. I'm going to save time, put that aside, and pull out one I've done earlier. Just got to finish off a little bit of sanding on this one surface here, and then we're going to get cracking with that quadrant piece. When it comes to the quadrant, you can measure it out and cut it. However, 9 times out of 10, I always make a mistake. So I'd rather just line it up on the workpiece, mark it, and then cut it according to that. That way I know it's exactly right. So we now have a little bit of excess on the side here. Let's just mark it so we know which is which, A to A. There's my edge piece, and I'm going to cut off that way at 45 degrees. What I'm actually going to do is cut one piece, assemble it before I move on to the next one and work my way all the way around. That way I know each piece is custom fit and I'm going to get the best level of accuracy. Perfect, I'm happy with that. I'm going to put some wood glue in between the mating surface and then pop it in with some panel pins. So the first piece is in, cut another 45 degree, then we're going to line it up flush against that angle and then mark the opposite side. Proceed with the exact same procedure, wood glue in between the mating surface, panel pin on the side, pushing it all the way into the timber, and then carry on all the way around. Now to save a bit of time, here's one I made earlier, and I've also actually filled the tips of the nail heads as well. So I'm going to sand that down smooth, give it another little dusting around the top, and then we're going to stain it. There it is, the structure is complete. I'm quite happy with that. It's up to you how you want to finish off your final project. You can put a clear sealer on here to get that natural grain coming through, or you can actually stain it up or paint it. I think I'm going to put a dark wood stain on here, and it's that dark walnut from Rust-Oleum, really cool stuff. When using wood stain, remember to wear the appropriate protective gear. This stuff is fantastic at staining wood, not so good at coming off, so protect your hands especially. And you'll see this stuff really does go a long way. Rub it deep into the timber and you'll see it really starts penetrating well into the surface of the wood. If you put too much, just rub it around, move it around and really rub it into the timber. My stain is now dry and it's now time to seal the timber, especially since this is going to be a feeding station. There's going to be a lot of spillage. So I want to protect the timber and protect this unit for as long as possible. Wood sealer to seal it off, or you can make use of some spray paint sealer as well. It's easy to apply, no brushes are needed, and it dries quickly too. I love this stuff. I'm coupling this up with the spray gun attachment. Makes life so much easier, especially when spraying. When applying spray paint, around about 20 to 30 centimeters away from the surface, keep moving across the material. Don't stop and go the other direction, because that's when you kind of get a hot spot or a focus spot and too much paint is applied and it starts running down the timber. There it is, the DIY is complete, simple, easy and effective. All that's left to do is to put it into a location and hopefully your pet will approve. From this DIY guy over to you, the most important thing is be amazing, love the DIY, and enjoy the therapy. If you enjoyed this clip, like it, share it. You can also subscribe to the Builders Fan YouTube channel, where there's a range of DIYs just like this, as well as product reviews for you to check out.